I have a PowerPoint presentation for you. Anyone that wants it, I'll be happy to forward it to you. But what I wanted to start with are some ideas and tips to help you stay connected with the people that you meet. But the first question, and this was talked about barely today, can anyone in the room tell me the difference between a transaction and a relationship, a business relationship? Anybody have thoughts about what the difference is? Yes?
Transaction's one thing, a relationship could be multiple.
A transaction is one thing, a relationship could be multiple, multiple purchase. Yes?
Transaction is when money is exchanged, relationship is information.
Okay, relationships is information. A transaction can be money. Anyone else with thoughts? Yes?
The connection, transaction can be here today, gone. The relationship is ongoing, and I think that's a key piece.
That's actually where I want to go with this, is we can all have a transaction. Karen Irwin sells Mary Kay products. She can do a sale, or she can create a relationship, a long-term relationship. And with that, I'm going to be sharing some things that I do, and we also have been blessed with this book, Context, Connections, and Collaboration, by reaching out to a lot of people for ideas and information around making connections and staying connected. So, and again, the PowerPoint, I'll come to it, but it's got a lot of information, and I can email it to you. How many of you think strategically about the events you go to, the cost you have in attending, and what happens to those little cards that are getting less popular because of social media, are the business cards? When you go, you bring yours, correct? Because most people carry theirs. And then you gather them. What happens to them when you leave? Are they in the bottom of your purse maybe, in a pocket? What do you do? I have something, I call it a keep in touch kit, and I actually have a sample here, where we can keep our business cards and the business cards we get all in one space. We talk a lot about systems here. In order to become a connector, which is what I believe I was born to do, is connect people, I had to figure out how to keep this information without losing it, without forgetting people. So I'm someone that I have to have a CRM. And right now I use two. I'm an ACT person, and I'm also a Hatchback person, which makes it really confusing. I was with ACT for so long that I know how to move in that, and Hatchback I'm learning. But when I get a business card, it to me is like if we were back in the days of carrying currency, that business card in a way is currency. And I don't think that sometimes when we get busy, we treat that business card as currency. And what I mean by that is it took time and money to attend an event where you got a business card. So by taking and using, I used to use the little Ziplocs that the small snack size baggies to put my business cards in, but what I found is they kind of would tear the edges. So I invested in commercial Ziploc bags. And when I go to an event, I literally write on this event who I met there, where I met them. When someone's going to put this in the computer for me, they can tag it for me. Because, if I meet someone, I may not remember where I met them, and the computer helps me. I'm also big on trying to make notes about people, because again, I have a touch of ADD, plus, I call it a full brain, not that I'm getting older. I just have a really full brain. And so the notes help me on meeting, different things that I learn about someone when I meet them. And that, to me, is about the relationship. It's listening, and it's finding ways to make connections. So when we are meeting people and we're wanting to make the connections, and we have something, like we say we're going to send something or we're going to do something, for some of us, if we don't write it down, it may not get done. In this kit, I have 3x5 cards, a little notebook, a stapler if I want to staple something, and the plastic bags, and it can be kept in the car. How many of you, too, have walked into a meeting and you've run out of business cards? So it's a way to keep your business cards. Now, one of my friends, Lori Feldman, she actually doesn't care as much about carrying business cards. If she gives them out to you, it may or may not go anywhere, but if she gets your card. So my suggestion, too, is it's not so much about our giving out our cards as it is getting cards, and then following up with them. So when Bobby Linkamer and I collaborated on the book, again, we went outside of our circle as well to try to find the best tips and ways to help people. A contact is what happens here for, like Judy Ryan brought an intern. We had a contact. We're not connected yet. We just had a contact. What takes it further is when there's some kind of an interaction where we start to become linked in some way. I call it a spark, but it's where, oh, you do this, or you're from there, or there's some way that we make a connection. Collaboration is when we move beyond the connection. And Cynthia Carell, I'm going to use her. She tried to get me to let her work on, I did a workshop every year called Joy of Goals. She wanted to take and turn it into a product, and I didn't understand it. But she persevered, and she actually came back with the product for me to see it. And then we started collaborating. But it was like this energy of two people working together that made it so much more fun. In synergy, you kind of go beyond the collaboration. It's maybe something bigger than you and the other person. And in the Gateway to Dreams community, the nonprofit that we started, there's a lot of synergy of amazing people that want to see St. Louis change and grow and be a more positive community. So like Kathy Sexton, Linda Stroud, Bill Purnett, and I'm sorry, I'm going to probably forget some people because the brain's so full, but there's so many people that are behind helping us do that. It's a form of synergy. I'm not so crazy about these two words. I would say more that we have our personalities of being extroverted or introverted. When you're going to a networking event, if you tend to be really introverted, you might need to push yourself or go with someone else to help you talk a little bit more. If you tend to be extroverted, which I am in business situations, you might need to not talk as much. You might need to listen more if you're going to build relationships. Where to find people to make connections with. Your alumni groups, you might have not talked to them in years, but when you reconnect, who knows what gifts you might find in relationships. Businesses, there's chambers of commerce, there's conventions, conferences, trade associations, social groups, newspapers. I have made some amazing friends because I read an article and I reached out to a writer or someone in that article. And I don't know, when there is something that you feel about, like a writer, Harry Jackson, I don't know if any of you read the Post, but Harry Jackson writes about health. He happened to write an article about tools for people going blind. My father was still alive at the time. He had been told he would be going blind, and he was talking suicide. He was saying, if I can't see, I don't think that there's going to be anything worth living for. And right around that time, Harry wrote this article about all these tools. I reached out, I gave an article to my father. My father had renewed hope. He ended up getting surgery. He had better than 20/20 vision. But in that space between hopeless and hopeful, Harry provided an article. I reached out to Harry. We became, he said no one had ever written him anything like this and how much it meant to him. And then through the years, I introduced people with great stories that he could write about in his articles. So you just don't know where you can make a connection. In publications, I have reached out to the editors and just building relationships because there was something in it that resonated within me. I said the difference between a contact and a connection. The contact is more superficial. If you see him again, great. If you don't see him again, you won't really miss him. A connection is someone that you feel you really want to go deeper with. In this room, Bill has created a community that we are connected. Those of us that come regularly, we care about each other. Making connections. There's one person in the room that I'm sorry he didn't stay, but Jim actually has a book, Smart Networking for Business and Personal Success, our own Jim Canada. He's one of the few people I know that really does introductions the way I do, through email. He takes his time and shares both people why they should meet each other. And he's a real connector. There's a lot of us in this room that do connections, but I also want to plug his book. If you go to his website, you can download it, Smart Networking for Business and Personal Successes. So in becoming a connector, you can't be looking for what's wrong with people. You need to be looking for what's right with people. You need to be looking for their goodness, their specialness. If you want to make connections and you are in the energy of critical and judging, for one thing, you're not going to attract them to you as much, and you're not going to be able to do a good job of making connections because you're sitting more in a judgment role rather than a loving role. So looking for the good, I say I collect people. Like some people might collect stamps, I collect people really. And my database is about these wonderful people I've met all over the world, not just here in St. Louis. And when I know that I can make a connection for them, I want to do it. Introducing people to one another, there are many in this room that know that that is one of my deepest passions. In fact, one nonprofit calls me their angel connector, because if I can make an introduction that's going to help them, I want to do that. You need to also believe that relationships matter. Again, if you're in this room, especially if you're a member, you know that relationships matter. I am also amazed at how some of my relationships have come about from social media. Like, I did not want Facebook in my life. I was like anti any social media. And then I found out it was one of the best ways that I can know what's going on with people I care about. John, I saw that you had your accident on social media. Your daughter and I became Facebook friends, and I got to keep up with them. I care, and people do care about one another, and keeping in touch is important. Let's see here. I talked earlier about, a system. When you leave an event, what are you going to do with that card? A lot of us are scheduled back to back with things, and then the card kind of sits off to the side, and then it's a week, and then maybe it's 2 weeks, and oh my gosh, it was a month ago, should I really reach out? Try to schedule a little bit of time between your meetings. Look at the notes, reach out on Facebook. I like to just use Facebook now. Hey, we met this morning. First, they've got to accept you as a friend, but it was great meeting you and making that connection. I'm not as good on LinkedIn. I wish I was, but I think it's the immediate colors and everything on Facebook that I like. So in your database, make notes. Again, you'll refer back to them. Birthdays, Bill's birthday is tomorrow. It was in my database. I knew that. And think about how can you help them. In Jim's book, I haven't got to read it. He just handed it to me this morning. But on page 3, his networking philosophy is that you can never give too much. You can never give too much. Again, our founder, Bill Purnett, he's one of the most giving people I know. And that will serve you well in networking. Any questions? Any thoughts? Any tips? Glenda.
Yes. I don't mind. Hey, Karen Hoffman. I don't really have a question for you. What I want to say to you is thank you so very much this morning for your heartfelt talk to us. What do you guys think? Is there any question in anybody's mind here that Karen Hoffman cares about people and connecting people to help each other?
Any questions on anything? Yes, Leslie. Oh, wait, till the runner runs, till Dan runs.
Where are we going?
Behind you.
Thank you. Sorry.
I think a lot of us probably don't follow up because we get lost in day-to-day life and everything that happens. So tell me how you sort through your day so that you keep all these connections and, keep up with social media. It'll be, for me, possibly 5 or 7 days before I go on Facebook. Just because of life.
So if you're not a Facebook person, I think that we don't get to necessarily choose what it is, but maybe you have someone helping you with your Facebook. If you want to make some of the connections. I don't know how that really works because I only know how to do it by myself. But some of it may be just even, and I know that you're really time-starved. I know your life. But, some of it may be just selectively picking just a couple a month that you want to nurture. Someone that resonated with you, you felt really good about, reaching out to them. I kind of put it in between, like I'm sitting waiting for an appointment. It's on my phone. I pull it up. I just do it, Yes.
So
So I have a question too. So you said that about sometimes not getting back to a card, someone you met a week, 2 weeks ago. So what is your...
do it.
Don't do it?
No, you still do.
Oh, I said don't do it.
No.
Where is the line?
No. And I would just say, hey, I've been really busy. I wanted to connect with you. Here's what I wanted, I wanted us to get together. I wanted to share this with you, or just wanted to say, like, I remember us meeting that I love that you have a marketing background in was it publishing or advertising? Advertising. It was like, ooh, she would be so cool to get to hang out with for a while. And that's what I would say. When I met you at E4E last month, this is what inspired me to reach out.
He's
Yes?
not here today, but Daniel Rubenstein, if you have a box of business cards on your desk, he's a great guy to organize them for you. Put them in an Excel spreadsheet so you can at least put them in your
I asked him if he
CRM.
was going to be here,
Yeah.
and he actually had missed the notice. But in our book, we actually have Daniel's information. And a friend of mine out of Idaho, she's a national speaker, she has what she calls her CKO, Chief Kid Officer. She hired actually this young man, he was I think 10 or 11 when she started working with him, just to do data entry. And she was paying him, his parents wouldn't let him get paid any like normal because they didn't want him overinflated with earnings. So I think she was paying him like $5 an hour. She would give him the box and he would enter them. But she says everybody should have a CKO. Anyone else?
Yeah, I have a comment or tip building on your initial question about that difference between transaction and relationship. We think of relationships only in terms of exchange of money, but I think that a relationship is simply a distinct event in which two people exchange value. And that value doesn't have to be money. So a transaction could be an exchange of business cards. A transaction could be an email open. And the difference between a transaction where I've sent you an email and you open it and there's mutual value exchanged as a result, a relationship is simply an ongoing collection of transactions in which there's ongoing building.
Monetary or non-monetary? I
Non-
totally agree with you.
Yeah.
Anyone else? I think we're out of time. Okay. Thank you, guys.